So as I look around the room, many of you guys know who I am. If you don't know who I am, you've seen me around and you're like, that's that guy that's always running around Lawrence everywhere and screaming at the top of his lungs how great the city of Lawrence is, which does drive my friends and family absolutely nuts, but they're just gonna have to deal with that. Thanks for everyone that came tonight. We got stakeholders here. We have government officials here. We have the school represented here. We have the chamber represented here. But most importantly, I want to thank the Redevelopment Commission, the board that is with us tonight. If you're on the Redevelopment Commission, will you stand up, please? So these are the folks that kind of have been working the trades district for years, and I know a lot of people thought it was a pipe dream, but hopefully tonight this is the start of the trades district. Also, Joe Murphy. If you don't know who Joe Murphy is, he is amazing. He does all of the hard work. I call him, I text him, I show up at his house, and Joe's always got the answer. So Joe, thanks for all your hard work in doing this. Obviously, thanks to Dan, our economic development, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot of people, but thank everyone for your help. I am here to introduce the mayor and get this meeting kicked off. Prior to that, I am very, very, very excited about what's about to commence, hopefully, in the city of Lawrence. The Redevelopment Commission, when Dan started, he told us to get a hairy, audacious, giant goal and put it down, and this is at least one of, if not the most important goal that we'll be doing. This will outlive everyone in the room, which is okay with me because I'm going to force my kids to stay here and grow up and have their kids here. But I think this not only will change the city of Lawrence, this will change the region, this will change the state. This could also, this might change the entire Midwest, depending on how we can get this done, how quick we can get this done, and just the positive things that could happen for our children, especially, and our kids. Everyone can't go to college. We know that. We've addressed that with McKenzie Career Center, but something of this magnitude could help everyone if you're going to college or not. So this meeting is not about me, so I want to introduce a decent friend, a good mayor. I think he's doing a pretty good job. He's also a fellow alumni of Hanover College. Unfortunately, Jerry, I heard you. Unfortunately, he is a Lawrence North guy. I'm a Lawrence Central guy, but he's all right. So I want to introduce our mayor of the city of Lawrence, Steve Collier.
David, you forgot to mention I have a much higher bond number than you too, by the way. So David and I go back several years. He actually served as kind of a surrogate big brother to my son at Hanover College. David had been a great athlete at Lawrence Central and came to Hanover and did the same thing, and certainly had accomplished quite a few pretty outstanding things. And unfortunately, when he first graduated from Hanover, he moved to Cincinnati. He's married to a Hanover gal, and he's got two beautiful daughters. And what's that?
And the Lawrence Central guy.
Yeah, I know. Okay. She's Lawrence Central too, by the way. I'm actually Lawrence Central, Dave. You forgot I'm an LC guy too. Anyway, so I talked to him actually down at I think a football game down in Hanover, and I heard he was moving back into Lawrence. And the first thing he asked me is I wanted to make sure and check that I was moving into Lawrence Township schools in the city of Lawrence. And so that made me very excited. I have not, I've been relentless in keeping David involved with the city. As you can see, he's an extremely, he's a quality young man, a family man, and certainly involved with the city. And so I love having him as a part of this team, and he's been a great asset to me. So what you're about to see, I've seen a few times. I have to tell you that when I recruited Dan Zerner, I began recruiting him about 2.5 years ago. I'd heard about his reputation throughout the state. And I knew that if I could get him on board, he could help me with my goal second term, if I get a second term, to begin to have what I term quality economic development. Burger Kings are nice, McDonald's are nice, but I was really looking toward the idea of bringing in light industry that had employers and could serve us as providing internships for our kids in high school. First leg of that journey came in when Midwest Remediation moved into the Trades District. Williams Comfort Air came to us from Carmel. Freegee is building a light industrial factory right now there at Pendleton, Pike, and 465. As you see from the loop produced by my great social media team, that shows you some of what we've been able to do the last 5 years. Most of you who know me know this. I'm 66 years old, and I've lived in Lawrence for 58 of those 66 years. I'm invested heavily in this city. I'm here for a reason. And what I've always been about is trying to keep this city moving in the right direction, turn that ship, and keep moving in the direction I think we can be. I am hearing this all the time, that my team has been able to change the trajectory of the city of Lawrence. That's not easy to do. And I get a lot of credit for things I have nothing to do with, and my guys have heard this a lot. What I will take credit for is hiring a great team of people to work with me, and they make me look good on a regular basis. You're about to see soon very much evidence of that as we have Synthesis and Dan Zerner come up here and talk with you about what I think is a vision for the future that, as David said, will long outlast me, will long outlast David, and its impact on what it will mean to the city of Lawrence. So thank you for coming tonight. This is a great turnout, a great crowd. We hope to generate the kind of interest and have questions to answer for you later on. But Dan, I'll pass it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. It is an absolute delight to see this group of friends and peers, citizens interested in the community, engineering firms that I've known for years, that go way back in my career, that are here out of interest in what the city's doing, the boards, the commissions, the council represented with the various councilors I see, Rosenroff and Adams and all the different people. I see our former mayor friend from Martinsville right here. We've got just a great assembly of people here, and I want to be sure that you understand how humbled we are that you would take time out of your evening to be with us. So what you're about to see tonight is a strategy and a vision for taking this city from where we are right now, which is so great in so many ways, but largely appreciated by you that live here, and not nearly as appreciated by those that are not citizens of this community. We have an image problem. We've had an image problem for 40 or 50 years. We don't want to believe that because we love our community. We believe that this project is going to totally change the trajectory of Lawrence as we know it today. And I'm so grateful that you're here to see that and be a part of that this evening. When the city engaged me approximately 1.5 years ago now, I started to look at what were the influences that were changing the dynamic of Lawrence already in a positive way. I believe that as people, I know that as a young person, I was fortunate to have 2 or 3 educators that took a personal interest in me that changed my life. That was a positive influence. In my business experiences, I've been fortunate to meet mentors and peers and people with money that had interest in supporting what I wanted to do. Those were positive influences. Communities have positive influences that are available to help drive change. And Lawrence has had that for some time now. We have a great number of influences impacting this community in a positive way. For example, if we just go around the loop and you start up to the northwest, you have Geist Reservoir, one of the most desirable places to live in a whole large radius, producing extremely quality housing and amenities that people want to be a part of and dine and recreate. And that has run out of room up there, and they're starting to push this direction and drive that quality of housing and those amenities towards us. If you look to the southeast, you have Arbor Homes and numerous developments that are really starting to push from the southeast up, almost so much that right now our biggest problem is, can we keep utilities in front of them as we grow? And while a lot of people that don't understand the Corhon family and they see manufactured homes, those are some of the most beautifully maintained and least crime-driven places that we have in this city. The Corhon family is extremely generous with their foundation in helping support all kinds of causes. And their new developments that they have are going to be even better. And the best part about those developments is those are affordable housing for workforce families that help drive and feed and make industry excited about being here. Extremely positive influence. Some of you may be less aware because you probably don't spend much time down there, but 15 years ago, and largely what's remembered by many people in Indiana, is the south part of Lawrence was one of the most crime-ridden, crime statistics places in all of Indiana. Shootings and murders and burglaries. We have a developer named Dan Penn out of California, a company called Gated Properties that has taken an interest in Lawrence, and he bought the old Mason's Gardens, which was the epicenter for all of that, has spent millions of dollars in cleaning that up, has raised the tenant level to a really desirable level, has worked with Chief Hoffman and at the police department and Chief Battalis at the fire department. From where we used to have, I don't know, Dave, 6, 8 runs there a day, at least, we hardly have 1 to 2 a week now. That area is totally changing because of the fundamental investment. And Gated Properties, if you go down there right now, has just cleared another 3 or 4 acres for a beautiful 2-story brick gated lighted storage facility that's helping put that light even further away. Combine that with the fact that the Purple Line is scheduled to come, whoop, these buttons are too close and I haven't got my glasses on, sorry about that, dangerous combination. The Purple Line is going to come out of Indianapolis straight up Post Road to the park, and that anticipated development and what will come with that is extremely positive. Not located in Lawrence because of our weird shape, but right here in this corner you have Menards and you have Browning's new investment forcing commercial private development right up this way. Here with us tonight, you're going to hear more about it. Where is Mr. Neroff?
Right here.
Neroff Shaw, right here. He's one of the officers with Drone Deck. Mr. O'Toole, the CEO, had lunch with him today. He apologized he couldn't be here. You're going to hear more about them in a minute, but they've bought the old 4423 Shadeland property, the old auto dealership. They're getting ready to repurpose that into their new world headquarters for their strategic, state-of-the-art drone deck product that you'll see in a minute, docking station. That's going to drive the improvement of Shadeland. And then we can't speak enough. I saw Mr. Smith from Dr. Smith and Schools come in over here somewhere. I think I saw him sit down. We're so glad to have you. Oh, there he is, over here, I'm sorry. We're so glad to have you as a partner with what you're doing along 56th Street and with McKinsey Trade Center and all the other things. But nobody can discount the impact of the FHRA board and Aletha Dunstan and how the changes along 56th Street and the fort have come to fruition. It might interest you to know that we only have 1 parcel left to sell in the fort, which is amazing change. So when you take all of that, all those are pushing towards an epicenter. The one thing that's left that is the real detriment to Lawrence is Pendleton, Pike, and 36. That hasn't changed in 50 or 60 years, with the exception of Monarch or Ray's Beverage and a few other isolated instances. Those same old look, same car lots, same pawn shops, same other types of businesses, and as evidence of that, one of the nicest pieces of real estate in the whole city is the old Castle Car Wash that hasn't been redeveloped in years. And it's because we don't have standards and covenants and things in play to protect investment, encourage investment, or anybody setting a standard going forward. The project you're about to hear about will have the epicenter right at 465 and Pendleton Pike. Will change this entire area in a manner that I fully believe private investment will come in behind and push the whole investment all the way up to Sunnyside Road and start to change what Lawrence looks like. What you have to remember is you love Lawrence. I love Lawrence. I've learned to love Lawrence. But the person driving across 465 that looks over, he doesn't see anything different than he's seen for the last 60 years. The person that goes up Pendleton Pike until they get to Sunnyside Road, or German Church Road, nothing has changed in the last 50 years of any significance. It looks like what it is. So why would we invest here? What would we do that would make us feel our investment's secure or this is a good place to be? That's what this presentation is about. So I'm sorry, but I've got to spend a few minutes acknowledging some people and celebrating some people and giving tribute to people. Both the people that have helped us get to this point, but also the people that are here tonight, you, that are going to help us take us to where we're going to go. So I need to acknowledge some distinguished guests that are here. The governor, is Andrew here in the audience somewhere? There he is. I knew you were committed to coming. I knew you had to be here. That's the way you are. Andrew Forster, if you'd stand up, he's representing Governor Holcomb tonight. We thank you for being here. We have Denny Spinner. Denny, if you'd stand up. Denny is a longtime peer and working friend. He was the mayor of Huntingburg when Huntingburg was just a sleepy little old rural community that was only known really for its basketball and turkey processing. And by the way, if you drive, I've done it many times working with Denny, if you drive around the perimeter commercial roads, it's like snow this time of year. But it's not snow, it's turkey feathers. But Denny took that little town as a mayor and almost single-handedly, he would say that's not true, but almost single-handedly helped the town, the city of Huntingburg, get a stellar grant. The downtown is now vibrant, clean, beautiful, great place to hang out. But even more importantly, he got his teeth into workforce development housing. And they've built 2 phenomenal big subdivisions that are virtually full of new residents to staff industry and fill jobs that's making industry come to Huntingburg. I wanted Denny tonight, from one perspective, to see this presentation to tell us what we need to be doing different. That's how much I think of Denny. He's also now, as the governor's appointee, the executive director of OCRA, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, which has a lot of grant money. And I want to be sure Denny understands there's places in this project that we can use grant money. So Denny, we thank you for being here. I didn't see him come in, but Kyle Walker, the state senator, is an integral part of this community. We've also had John Bartlett, the state representative, be extremely influential. Lacey Johnson, who has been on the FHRA board for years, but now is the liaison to the Biden administration in Washington, D.C. for this area. So he's really eyes and ears for us. I can't say enough about Jason Fenwick. You got to stand up for me. So for those of you that don't know, Jason was an investment banker in Chicago for years. He and the mayor became friends, and he knew the mayor talked him into coming in and straightening out the financial mess of this city, and we were in a mess. I think anybody here, I don't think there's anybody of any political party would say that this wasn't almost a disaster. And in 6 years, Jason has us to a positive, bondable bottom line. And he just left, and we're so happy for him. First Merchants Bank created a brand new department just for Jason. We're so excited for you, and thank you for all you've done for the city. And in case anybody's scared, he's agreed to stay on as a consultant to help us get through this a little bit. Then Aletha Dunstan's on vacation. She's the executive director of the Fort Harrison Reuse Authority, and they've done a tremendous job, as I've already mentioned. And then I'm going to mention, I thought he might be here tonight. It's always good to mention your potential boss, right? But I actually worked for Garmon Construction as an officer for years, and they've loaned me basically to the city of Lawrence on contract to handle this particular phase of economic development activity. And without their support, with all the other things I'm doing in 3 states, I just wouldn't have time to be here, but they give me the latitude and the authority and to do whatever I want to do. And if that includes Lawrence, so be it. And I'm grateful for them for that. I have to mention the administration and staff. You can see their names all listed up here. But I don't have to have this job. I've got a lot of things I can do, and I remind the mayor of that every once in a while, and he says, quit telling me that. But I'm here because there's not one person on this staff that wouldn't have my back, that isn't passionate about the city, that isn't trying to drive forward. And where else can you find that? That is true here. That's just not something I'm making up. And people like Dino and the chief and Kathy Walton, I think she's here somewhere, nobody has a clerk any better than the city of Lawrence. I could mention all of you, but out of time, I'm going to pass that up. But I want to thank you for all that you do for us. Then we have the Common Council, well represented here tonight. Everybody in the Common Council, stand up, if you would. I'd appreciate it. There's Sharon right in the front row. Well, hello, ladies. Lisa. So Deborah Whitfield's the head of the Economic Development Committee. And Lisa Chavez, sitting right in front of me, is the president of the council. And without their support and the project and their outlook towards the future of Lawrence, we can't do what we need to do. And I'm so grateful that their presence tonight gives you an indication about how much they care about Lawrence. Then the Redevelopment Commission you've already met. Board of Zoning Appeals. Who's here from the Board of Zoning Appeals? I saw Debbie, I think. There we got, okay, got a few here. Want to stand up and be recognized? Appreciate you being here. What's important to me about the Board of Zoning Appeals, as you see in a minute, we're going to have a lot of work for you. And I appreciate you being here to see this. The Utility Service Board, you're going to get really nervous by the time I'm done tonight. And we thank you for being here to see what's there. The Municipal Building Corporation has been kind of dormant, but again, after I get done tonight, I think they'll see that they're going to get called back into action. The stormwater management's a big part of our project. I appreciate you being here. And then Doug and Mark and Sean, when I get done, you're going to probably be breaking out. We've got a lot of great things that we're going to talk about tonight relative to public works and safety. So in order to do this massive project, the mayor gave me the latitude. We're talking about the vision, and as David told you, I came in and challenged the Redevelopment Commission that had been pretty much led to wherever we needed to go by the previous groups, that they needed to stand on their own 2 feet. I said redevelopment commissions are meant to tear stuff down. They're meant to change an older area that needs to be revitalized. A lot of communities make the mistake of taking a green space outside of town and spending $10 million to run. How many engineers we got in here? Everybody that's an engineer, raise your hand. So how many times you've seen this? A city has all the core infrastructure they need at an old manufacturing plant downtown. It's exactly where it ought to be repurposed. And yet everybody says, we got an existing building, somebody use it. Well, that building's old, has to be redeveloped. The ceilings aren't high enough. It's got environmental issues. Nobody wants to touch it, right? So what they do is they spend $14 million and run all the infrastructure outside of town and buy a piece of green property and build something new while the old continues to rot. What I challenge this redevelopment commission is, I want you to be your own group. I want you to stand up. I want you to speak. I want you to find a big, hairy, audacious goal. Those were my exact words. And I want you to take that and drive it to something that makes sense for the city of Lawrence. Because one of our biggest problems here is we're severely landlocked. John, I didn't see you sitting there. Thanks for being here. Senator John Bartlett, or Representative John Bartlett. This is an absolute issue for this city, is we have to repurpose what we have to make it what we want. And the Redevelopment Commission has grabbed that, but when we did and identified this target, we knew that we needed outside vision. So many of you probably don't know about synthesis, but many of you do know about the Indianapolis Airport. And many of you know that the Indianapolis Airport is considered to be one of the best airports in the United States. What you don't know is synthesis is a lot of the think tank behind the Indianapolis Airport. And I'd had a relationship with Kevin Blankenship sitting over here for almost 2 decades, kind of a young pup that I've mentored. By the way, you'll all be appreciative of this. His son is a SEAL that's serving to protect our homeland right now. We're very grateful for that. I'd also had a relationship that's, I should say professional relationship, so this doesn't get misconstrued. I've also had a relationship with the CEO and founder of Synthesis, Janelle Smagala, and had full confidence that their visioning was the best of any firm we could hire. So I asked them to bring a proposal to the RDC. The RDC fell in love with the idea. They embraced the Synthesis team. And so Synthesis assembled a team of Synthesis vision and planning people, a company, which is a think tank group that we'll talk more about in a second, and V3, which is a group of engineers that's well represented here tonight. So with me tonight, I'd like to introduce them because they spent months working on this on your behalf. I think it's important you see the faces. Janelle, would you stand up, please? Janelle Smagala, CEO of Synthesis. Greg McMullen, his official title says studio director, but he was the actual project manager that ran this project day to day. David Marks is with V3. He handled all the roads and infrastructure. Ryan, you're back here somewhere. Architect with Synthesis. Don Staley with V3, who handled a lot of our infrastructure analysis and findings. And Greg and I go way back, though we don't know each other really well. Greg Napier is the guy credited, and he'd say he's too humble, but this is totally true. He's the guy that made the Purdue Research Park and the Purdue Research Foundation's real estate come to life in Lafayette. He understands money, he understands finances, he understands partnering, he understands grants. So to have this team, I want you to know we had the very best eyes on this project could happen that have made this possible. So we finally got through the introductions. So tonight, over the course of the next 45 minutes, we're going to talk about the project goals. I'm going to share with you the site concept we started with and how we got there. We're going to talk about infrastructure that we've identified as critical to moving Lawrence forward. Site design as we see it. Sense of place and gateway, which is another way saying, I want to help you change Lawrence's image to where everybody in Indiana wants to be in Lawrence. And then, how do we get there with the next steps? That's the agenda. And once we get done, we can hang around and talk as little or as much as you want. You can ask questions if you want. You can walk out the door and call us later. But we want you to be thinking about this and helping us figure out how to make this happen. Irie, thanks for being here. So I want you to consider, what is Lawrence's legacy? What is the city's legacy? I think there's not a person here that wouldn't agree that the legacy is the fort, right? And I think anybody in Indiana would attach the fort as the legacy. But that may be a good thing or a bad thing. If they know the fort as it stands today, it's a great thing. But if they haven't been here in 20 years, and they think of what the fort was like when it went down in 1996, which is most of Indiana, by the way, it's not necessarily a good thing, but it's what they have in their head. And how are we perceived by others? That's what this is really all about. And again, everybody that's from Lawrence, raise your hand, please. All right. It's a great place, isn't it? We believe it's a great place. That's why we're here. But I'm here to tell you, if we took a poll across Indiana right now, about 8 out of 10 people would not give Lawrence very high marks. And it's because of Pendleton Pike, largely because of Pendleton Pike. And the recollection of the fort. Does our appearance make others want to locate their businesses here? I think, again, it depends. Depends on whether you're on 56th Street and you're into that high-tech, yuppie, connected mode. And that answer is absolutely yes. But if it's 56, or if it's Pendleton Pike, do you want to invest your money right now in Pendleton Pike for a major $20, $30 million investment? Probably not. for a lot of reasons, one of which there's no development standards in place that are going to help you protect yourself from what's built next door. Are we perceived to be a low crime and safe community? We all believe yes, but the outside world hadn't gotten there yet. The bad part of that is that Chief Hoffman and his team are now a world-class police department that's envied by virtually everybody in the state. We have the best of the best. They have best technology. The council's supporting them with good equipment. We have fabulous training. We have a new police department. We have policies and procedures. We very seldom end up in a lawsuit or an investigation. Our police group is above reproach. They respect diversity. They've worked hard to be sure that we're not in the same class of all these other cities you see around. So it's not true, but we haven't gotten that word out. We've got to work on that. Are we controlling our own destiny? That's what tonight is about. Do we have the things and the plans and the strategies in place to be sure that we're driving what we want to drive, or are we letting the outside influences influence us? And I say it's time, with the mayor's leadership, where he's already started this, that we grab this and we influence what we want the city to look like going forward, and we educate and we promote so that everybody understands what our mission is. How do we motivate the private sector to invest in the city of Lawrence at a faster rate with larger projects? That's what tonight's about. You're going to see our ideas on that. What opportunities exist for leveraging our investments? Many, many communities, and I'm sure Denny would attest to this, we see across the state do one-offs on their purchasing. They don't leverage the private sector with public-private partnerships. They don't take grant monies and other things and get to 3 times, 4 times, even 10 times for money for every dollar they spend. We have a very, very unique time of opportunity here for several reasons. One, we have ARPA funds coming in the bank. 2, they're just passing a $3 million, or working to pass a $3 trillion infrastructure bill in Washington, D.C. And largely what we're talking about now is infrastructure. So we have the opportunity right now to take this project and really get behind it and figure out how we can leverage our monies and make this happen. Is our image what we want it to be? That's sort of redundant to what I've already said, but I don't think it is. I think it is to us locally, but I don't think it is to those that are passing through and by here every day. We need to capitalize on that. So what do we do to differentiate ourselves from our competitors? Who are our competitors right now? Help me out. Who are the city's competitors? Fishers, Carmel, Westfield, Noblesville. Okay? All around us. And yet, none of them have the amount of state parks and trails and amenities we have in Lawrence. None of them. But nobody knows about it. But it's the amenities and the way they've changed their appearance that makes them able to do what they're going to do. Think for a minute that Carmel is the heaviest taxed, most expensive place to live in a hundreds of mile radius. And yet it's the #1 most desired place to live in the top 10 list in America. That tells me that people are willing to pay for what they need to pay for to have the amenities they want in place. We need not be afraid to make some investment to make this the quality of life place that we want it to be. So it's kind of an immediate drop the screen departure right now, but I want to talk about Drone Deck for a second, Nirov's business. So those of you that don't know, this is a receptacle, it's a docking station that all of you will have in front of your house in a few years. And if you think that's crazy, I saw evidentiary documentary today of 4,000 homes in Williamsburg, Virginia that are receiving drone deliveries of every package today. I watched a package of cookies come from 10 miles away in 7 minutes. From the time the order was placed, you could see on the cell phone the entire order cycle and the flight. And then you could hear the drone come up, you could see it stop over the yard, you could see it tether the cookies down and drop them in the yard. That was today. All of you are going to be having drone deliveries within the next 10 years. Those of you in Lawrence that live in the fort, you're going to have them within the next few months. Drone Deck is committed to locating its corporate headquarters, as I already mentioned, on Shadeland. This particular receptacle, I could talk to it about hours, but you might want to get online and look at it. This is heated and cooled, so if your pizza comes in, it drops in the top, it'll keep it warm till you get home. It's secured. If you get ice cream, it'll come in there and keep it cold. If you have a package that comes in that you need to send back, you don't even have to put a label on it. It's smart. It knows where to send it back. Has a slot that's locked for your regular mail. When the mailman pulls up, it automatically unlocks. He puts your mail in. When he drives away, it locks. These are going to be in the Fort Harrison area, thereof, in 3-4 months?
October, we'll do some trials.
October, it starts being tested, and we are the beta site for this in Lawrence. What a lot of people don't realize is Lawrence won the tech award for, I can't talk about it specifically, I don't remember the terminology, wherever Joe is, he could correct me. The Mirror Award for all the tech companies that we have in Lawrence last year. This is an incredible place to be for tech companies. So we're starting to change the image that this is a place you want to be. This is about half of the trades district, standing in the middle of it, looking towards Indianapolis. And what I want you to recognize is there's the city of Indianapolis downtown rising out of the skyscraper. We are in the shadows of Indianapolis. What better location for growth could you possibly have than being at Pendleton, Pike, and 465? 7 or 8 minutes from downtown Indianapolis. Well, yeah, we sit in the shadows of all those other communities that drive by to get to them every day. How many people wait an extra 10 minutes to get through the 69 mess every night that could be stopping off in Lawrence? But it's our image that's keeping us from getting there. But as you can see, this is old buildings for the most part that haven't changed in 40 or 50 years. This is the railroad track behind the CSX double track, main line that runs behind the park. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. But again, you can see the nature of what the trades district looks like today. This is an intersection I'm going to talk a lot about in the next few minutes off and on. This is Cellar Street and Pendleton Pike. And as you look across here, there's Menards sitting there, Browning's big new building sitting right behind it. This is one of the most significant intersections in a vast area. At night and during the day or morning, this backs way up on this street right here, backs all the way up and traffic stacks here. We have Freegie's big development you're going to hear more about in a minute right here. That'll have another 80 or 90 trucks. You're going to hear about Racetrack in a minute. That's a giant fueling convenience store on steroids with a big truck fueling facility right here. This area right here is one of the most heavily congested areas now, and we're talking about this development. You're going to see us spend a lot of time on infrastructure to improve not only this, but make it possible to do all we want to do. Everybody might say, why am I throwing a railroad track up here? This is integral to what we want to do in the trades district. For years, we've had flooding experience in the trade district. Well, it's no wonder when you're an engineer, and I've worked enough in the construction world and engineering world, this is the primary drainage ditch for all of the trades district area. You can see where it's totally silted in, full of trees. The drain no longer functions. No wonder we don't have a drainage. So one of our first goals is to clean this totally out and make that stormwater problem go away. But more importantly, I wanted to share with you that in this whole process that you're hearing about, this just didn't come up or get dreamed of. The synthesis team held private interviews. How many of you were participated on private interviews? Maria, you did. All those interviews. Yep, a lot of interviews. They held whiteboard chalk sessions in here where people were invited in and they had group discussions over everything. We learned what the great things were, the bad things were, the issues were. One of the things we learned that crime was a problem. Even though we didn't think crime was a problem. People are coming across the tracks at night to get in here. break in, steal, do vandalism, paint graffiti. So one of the things we want to do to really make this area desirable, as you're going to see in a minute, is put a sound barrier wall the full length of the track to stop the traffic flow across here and shut the railroad noise down. So a lot of really good things that we can do to make this area more desirable. This is looking back to the east from a drone hanging up over 465, thanks to Daniel Byers. Shot this for me the other day. What I want to point out to you here is traffic circulation is terrible. That's the first thing I want to point out. So the main street going through the Trades District terminates right here. Now what none of us understand is that's still city right away. We just quit using it. It's still on the books. It's grown up in trees and everything else. Neighbors have absorbed it. But our goal is to open this back up, as you see, so circulation will start to occur through here. You're going to hear me talk more about it in a minute, but this is SAIC. They're represented tonight. We appreciate you being here. The developers here tonight that's leasing that to SAIC, we appreciate them being here tonight. SAIC is one of the U.S.'s major defense contractors. Most people don't know they've been there for 20 years. But they can't get their trucks in and out and the circulation in and out, let alone park all the people. Another thing I want to point out, this is a city street back here. You can see how it's grown up. Since this photo was taken, we have deployed the city street department. We've cleaned out all the trash, refuge, and trees on all the city right-of-way. We just realized this is part of the project that existed. And yet here we are asking all of you that own property in the Trades District to clean your place up. The city hadn't cleaned ours up either. So we're cleaning ours up to be sure that you understand how much importance we're placing on this area, and we're going to ask you to clean yours up too. Change. It's inevitable. It's already happening. So Mike Webster's back here. Mike, raise your hand for me. Become a really good friend. It's kind of odd that we just now became friends because his dad and my dad were best friends in Terre Haute when I was growing up. And only recently through this project did Mike and I make an acquaintance. But Michael is moving Freegee Engineered Solutions from Fishers to a new corporate headquarters at the intersection of 465 and I-70. Let's give him a hand. And what that's allowing me to do is have the excuses to set the development standards I need to not only protect Michael's investment, but encourage others to do the same. Going along with Michael right across the street, most of you have seen the Bank of America going up on the corner where the Papa's restaurant was. Then, whoops, dangerous without my glasses. Then Racetrack, most of you have seen their developments in Georgia and Florida. This is a giant, beautiful fueling station. But more than that, it's a beautiful, clean, vibrant, healthy food-driven convenience store that will provide food access from a walking distance to every employee inside the Trades District on the West End. It's taking an entire city block, and this construction will start in the next couple of weeks, somewhere around $10, $12 million investment. Then you have SAIC. Who are the folks from SAIC here tonight? Thank you. So SAIC, for those of you who don't know, is one of the U.S.'s largest defense contractors. They've been here for 2 decades already. This particular facility, I had a chance to tour it the other day, and I bump up against an F-18 bomb rack right in the middle of it. And then there's a mount for a Gatling gun and a Huey chopper. They design, they construct, they repurpose all those types of military asset hardware here in Lawrence. You don't hear about it too much because obviously that's not something you want to just spread around the countryside. But they've not only been here two decades, they just committed to almost doubling their workforce to approximately 150 to 80 employees, very high paying jobs. And their landlord that's sitting right here is just now was permitted by the city of Lawrence to start a whole renovation and addition to increase their size by 40% probably. So we're so thankful to have SAIC here, those high-paying jobs, that long-term commitment. This project is largely about being sure we can support those kind of commitments and development within the city of Lawrence. So we've talked about it quite a while. What is the Trades District? We're defining the trades district as the railroad to the north, Pendleton Pike to the south, a half a block east of Franklin Road to 465 to the west. That is what we're technically talking about tonight. One of the things I want to make perfectly clear now and hopefully reinforce as I go through, the amount of money and all I'm talking about using to develop the trades district from a bean counter's perspective may not be justifiable from tax revenue alone. But what this modification and change you're about to see will do is it'll grab the interest of private developers just like Fisher saw happen in the nickel plate district. It will totally start to change what Lawrence looks like and change the interest because we are in the catbird seat of our location. It's what we haven't done over the last 2 decades has kept us from getting where we need to go. What this project will do will be the catalyst to bring development across the street, to push it right on up Pendleton Pike. This is where it's all going to start right here. As I've already mentioned, road circulation was an issue. And this team up here has spent hours and weeks for close to 6 months developing this. So I could literally keep you all here for a week. I obviously want to do this in 45, 50 minutes. So I'm giving you the high-level overview that one of the biggest problems is circulation. And we looked at how we're going to get trucks and traffic and people and parking in and out. So a lot of you recognize some of these streets, but I'm sure nobody knows about this right here. There is no outlet to Franklin right now that goes straight through. There is no road that goes straight through. Is anybody here from the Speak family tonight, Mayor Fence?
Frank Speak.
Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, thank you.
Your brother's a great guy. We've gotten well acquainted. So the Speak family that owns Amerifence has purchased all the old Boring Trust property as we know it, which is all this area up here. And they're going to expand and clean up, make some positive changes down here where they are now. This area here is going to be their new corporate headquarters and their new showroom for their product right here. And this area here gets totally repainted, revitalized, resurfaced. But as part of that, they're collaborating with the city to punch this road right on through to Franklin Road. We also believe that this new boulevard that you're going to see here in just a moment, this is going to be a beautiful 2-lane boulevard access with a roundabout right here and architectural features, will give a future opportunity to punch this through to right here, helping alleviate all this traffic and circulation in the morning. So we've done a tremendous amount of study in what has to go into making this happen. And our goal is to facilitate circulation in and around the district that is clear and intuitive. I don't know which one of you wrote that, but that's pretty good. Do you take credit for that, Greg? Ryan wrote that. Pretty cool. One of the things I want to point out to you that you're going to see a little bit about in a minute that's a fabulous opportunity to the city. Again, it's a force we have to ride with. 2024, we've been waiting for years. NDOT is totally going to redo Pendleton Pike. Anybody want to guess why they're redoing Pendleton Pike?
The median.
So between Franklin Road right here and 465, there were 65 accidents in the last 6 months. That's 10 accidents a month where people are making left turns across Pendleton Pike. And the number's even a lot more staggering all the way up to Sunnyside. You can appreciate that, can't you, Officer Contrell? So they're going to place medians to restrict all the way out to Sunnyside the turns. But they came to the state. Where's Sri? He's here somewhere. So I'm putting this monkey on your back as city engineer. They came to the state. By the way, he's the best city engineer I could possibly ever hope to have to work with. He has my back and I have his, and it's just a wonderful relationship, and I thank you for that. But anyway, the state came to us and said, would you like to have landscape medians? Can you all imagine how that's going to change the appearance of the city of Lawrence if we start to make it green going right up Pendleton Pike? And we said yes. And then his immediate concern was, how am I going to pay for it? Mayor and I told him, don't worry about it. We'll figure that out. And Lisa was a help with that too. But that's just going to totally change the appearance of Lawrence. And it gives us the opportunity for Sri to go to NDOT now. And they've already started this approach, right, guys? David? We've gone to NDOT and said, we want to put a new boulevard in here. Can we tie it into your plan? And they've tentatively said yes. And we're going to start to change the appearance and image through that NDOT transformation in 2024. And so here's what it's going to look like. Kind of hard for you all to imagine this right now. You know what Pendleton Pike looks like today. Well, by 2025, you're going to have a green median right down the center. We're looking to have sidewalks and green on each side, wider sidewalks. It'll totally transform what people think of the Pike. And I believe as they're going down through that, they're not going to pay near as much attention to the crap that's on the outside. This is potentially what those medians could look like. What a transformation that'd be for the city in its own. I mentioned to you a minute ago a central boulevard into the trades district right here. This boulevard is going to allow us to take traffic in and out of Sellers, but it's also going to give us a way to get traffic in and out right here and keeping that congestion largely moved away from this intersections here now, while all at the same time giving the ability to go out the backside to Franklin to go north or south. A huge change for the city of Lawrence. And by the way, look how beautiful this will look as you start to lead in to the trades district compared to what we have today. So I have to believe that for the SAIC guests coming in from Washington, D.C., to see that walking into their property compared to what they need now would be a total transformation. Do you believe that?
Yes.
And then the internal primaries, we expect them to have lighting, sidewalks, some green space, none of which exists today. And the lighting should help tremendously with the crime aspect and the ability to move around there at night and for businesses that want to operate in hours beyond just the traditional daylight hours. This is an example, not saying that this will be exactly what it looks like, but this is an example of what we believe the sound barrier wall will look like along the CSX track. What a change that would be from scrub brush and trash, knocking the sound down for people that want to make an investment for major operations in their businesses, invest in Lawrence, and keep the crime away from crossing across the tracks. Not saying it doesn't get painted in some wild configurations, but nonetheless, big improvement. And the stormwater ditch cleaned out besides. So as part of this project, we've spent a lot of time studying infrastructure. We've already talked about the flooding. There is a project ongoing right now that you see here that's already been bid just this week, right, Sri? It's being bid?
It's been awarded.
Been awarded. This is new piping for stormwater right here. We're proposing as part of our road upgrades that all of this will be new stormwater infrastructure as well, totally taking the flooding problems. By the time we clean out this ditch along here, repurpose it, put this in place, the stormwater issues should totally go away for the city of Lawrence. I might share with you, hope Scott, by the way, Scott Salisbury, our utilities superintendent, one of the greatest assets we have here, and I mean that sincerely, took away time from his vacation to get back here just for tonight, which I appreciate. But I will tell you that Scott's biggest single challenge to help me out is we don't have enough wastewater capacity in this city. We have a brand new, fabulous state-of-the-art water system. But in a heavy storm event, because our structures are so old, and our development has been so significant, we will send downstream in a day twice as much water through the sanitary system as we pump and we sell. Twice as much. So IDEM has basically come to Scott and the city and said, we're not going to allow you to do any more significant housing development until you get this problem solved. Well, that just doesn't happen overnight. But by increasing stormwater capacity like this, every one of these things we do pulls some of that burden off of Scott. And this really would help us with the development. So stormwater is a critical part of this project. This is the area of stormwater we want to repurpose. The good news is that when we look at the sanitary sewer, it's in really good shape, with the exception of the 3 dark areas you see. And those would be incorporated into the stormwater and road improvements. The one real surprise for people that know about water in Lawrence, you'd say we wouldn't have any water trouble. That's not true here. And the reason it's not true is those are all 4-inch mains where those dark blue lines are. And to get the kind of development we want to get and to have fire protection available for those businesses, we have to upsize those mains to somewhere between 8 and 12 inches. So our proposal will be to install new water mains as part of this project and part of this road development. So this is where it really starts to get fun for you all. Those that have seen what this looks like today, which is primarily the light-colored buildings are what primarily exist. Mike Webster and Freegie's down here in E. We didn't get it labeled for some reason or another, but this is the new bank. This is the new fueling station taking this entire block and their convenience store. This is SAIC sitting right here. We have Mission Mechanical in here. We have Midwest Remediation in here. There are already big existing businesses. We have Coke Air back here. We have Midwest Concrete here. We have a lighting company here. We have Mill Supply here. We have a carpet store here. We have a vacuum truck service business here. A lot of engineering construction activity already in place. We want this to become the place for anybody that's in the construction or engineering business to realize there's an opportunity of collaboration to locate here, to sell each other supplies and services, but more importantly for training. We view the Lawrence school systems, McKinsey Trade Center, and our relationship with Dr. Smith and Lawrence schools to be absolutely incredible. And we recognize that they're so dedicated to training people in trades-type careers. We believe the opportunity is to have partnerships and internships with them to supply fully interactive activities and education while on the job with the businesses that locate in this district. And we think that'll be totally unique to any place in Indiana to have it in a cluster. As part of that, we are proposing one of the major projects to be a new 5-story parking garage right here. That garage is going to be absolutely essential for a lot of reasons. One is, as we take the right-of-way width here to almost 50 feet, we're going to take some parking away from some of these places that got to have places to park. We're going to try to facilitate that through a parking garage. But more importantly, we think that this trades district needs to have an established reputation as a destination for careers. And to that extent, we view a new experience center right here that could have conference rooms, could even have secure conference room space for military use for SAIC, but more importantly, an interactive center where people can, or families can bring their children, teenage, youth, elementary school age up to teenage years, to learn about what the trades have to offer, either through virtual experiences, hands-on experiences, interactive experiences, and we believe there's money for that would be funded by perhaps the Lilly Foundation or others, maybe the trades organizations themselves, to create this destination for people to understand that trades are a credible, wonderful, lifetime opportunity that doesn't require the risks associated with a $300,000 or $400,000 college education. We expect that all to occur right here. We think over time that the private sector is going to take over. And as an example, the current car lot sitting right here on the side of this beautiful boulevard will probably become some form of multi-tenant mixed-use space. This is green space back there right now that'll probably be desirable that the private industry is going to take over. Amerifence is going to automatically do this. This is Amerifence's new showroom and headquarters shown right here. So a lot of transition already in play for this district. Again, kudos to Synthesis and the team for all their help. This is what we see as being the new commercial district in terms of food and beverage, convenience, multi-tenant type acquisition. We believe that all of this, we believe that all of this will come into play as demanded as this develops, because these people have to have some place to eat and drink, do their things. Plus, we see a tremendous demand off this 465 interchange we're not serving right now for people looking for those services. The Redevelopment Commission just sold these parcels to a national food chain yet to be disclosed to us right here. The city's new $10 million fire station will be placed right here to serve not only the east side, but all of this district. And we're already in talks internally with the Redevelopment Commission about extending the TIF district, which ends about right here on Franklin, all the way up to 56th Street to allow the full growth of Franklin Road. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that are part of this project. Somebody tell me where this is. Not everybody at once.
Columbus.
Columbus, right? How do you know that?
The fancy bridge.
Right. Do we have anything that says this is Lawrence? Nothing. Makes me say, are we proud of Lawrence? Or we just don't want anybody to know? So one of the things that's in our forecast is we want to create some form of large-scale identification that this is Lawrence in the Trades District, that anybody coming across 465 will recognize. And the next time they're coming across and have somebody in a car seat and they say, what's that? They say, that's Lawrence, that's a Trades District. That's a pretty cool place. We believe that that has to be in the horizon for what we want to do. I give Greg and his team the credit for this, by the way. What is the middle one? Speedway, right? Everybody knows it's a speedway. Well, what if we had that created off of Pendleton Pike at the edge of the Trades District and everybody drives by it and all of a sudden, 10 years from now, somebody asks them what that is? They say, well, that's a Trades District. Right now, there is no... How long has the Trades District been talked about, Mayor? 3 administrations? 4?
Yeah, well, I mean, in my administration since year 1, but I'm not sure how.
Well, I worked with on Project Bean with the other administration probably 7 years before that. But nothing had ever really been accomplished. In order for it to be accomplished, so I use this line all the time. How many of us have stretched a truth at times in our lives indicating that we were something that we weren't? But if you said it enough, you became it, right? We have to believe that we are the Trades District, that this is a reality, that this is going to happen, and that we profess this to the rest of the world to the extent that it makes it happen. And to do that, you got to paint a picture that this is the Trades District. And then we've already started through the mayors and Joe and Jared and Mr. Byer. We've already started. You see this all over town now with our at ground level human scale. And we would propose that gets continued into the Trades District. So we're proposing that there be a place of identity and an interstate presence that people start to recognize. We're not sure what that looks like yet, but that needs to happen. Synthesis has proposed that along this beautiful new median Pendleton Pike and at the intersections, we have an arterial impact presence that identifies who we are. And then inside, there are focal points. There's signage to help you find your way, signage that reminds you how great it is or what's unique about Lawrence and the Trades District. There's so many things we can do with that, but some type of presence at the roundabout and the critical intersections. It's hard for you to imagine. This is what we believe the boulevard to the Trades District will look like within 15 years. Imagine that compared to what we look like today. And for those of you that are non-believers that can remember Fishers, think about Fishers in 2005 to where Fishers is today in 2021 downtown. Nothing alike, right? 15 years. We believe it's possible to achieve that same scale of quality of life improvements through the Trades District. Am I wrong? You're the consultants. Imagine if we just start what the sidewalks are going to look like, the boulevard, and we put that in place, somebody's going to come along, and there's going to be some business sitting there, yeah, that may be displaced, but somebody's going to offer them enough money for it, they don't care. The private sector will take over and drive this. This is what we believe it'll look like along Pendleton Pike in 15 or 20 years. A radical change from where we are to now. And what this body has to decide, are we going to make this happen or are we going to stay as it is? And I love this community and I love working for you and I'll do whatever it takes. But it's not for me. I can go back to Terre Haute. That's where my family is. But I'll do whatever I can do to help you get there, if you want to get there. But we have to decide if we're going to make it happen. So, catalyst projects and infrastructure, that's why all these engineering firms are sitting in here tonight. I view the first phase of projects to be the cleaning out of the stormwater ditch, getting that functioning to where it needs to function, getting the sound barrier wall in against CSX. And by the way, I forgot to mention something. I love Chief Hoffman. I pick on him a lot. But Chief Hoffman has gotten so excited about this because in that experience center downtown, in the middle of the trades district, one of the things that we kept coming back to us over and over again is we want a presence of more security. So lighting, but we're considering that a police substation should be a function of that parking garage and that experience center. So we start to get that all in place. The first project, in my view, is to get the engineering done for the roads, utilities, get that all in place as soon as possible so we can determine what that's really going to cost. Before that grant money gets spent that's coming out of Washington, D.C., we need to know and be ready to take care of that funding. But we can't do it if we don't know exactly what we're dealing with. So I need an engineering firm for that. The enacting the development standards. One of the things I'm going to ask for in just a minute, you're going to hear me ask formally in a minute, is I want to be able to issue RFP to engage a firm, the best firm we can hire, to help us develop restrictive covenants and development standards, not only for the trades district, but to move right up Pendleton Pike. One of the greatest things we have going for us right now that many of you may not know is through the mayor's leadership, Lawrence this year got our own zoning back. We no longer have to rely on the city of Indianapolis. That is a huge deal for us. And so creating these restrictive covenants, development standards that we can implement and control is an opportunity that we have to take advantage of, and I have to have in place to be able to talk to people like Mike Webster that want to consider coming in and spending $5, $10, $15, $30 million and be worried about what might be built next to them. I've got to have those standards in place. That doesn't mean, for anybody here that might feel threatened, that doesn't mean you can't continue to operate your business as it is today. You can do it forever. But what it does mean is that whatever time you cease to do business down the road, the standards will insist that whatever gets built next has to become the standard. So we're looking to the future. In my view, the parking garage is the next big thing we'll tackle. But this is a series of steps. And I've already probably got Lisa and the council wondering, how are we going to do this? But this is a collaboration that we have to do with a whole bunch of different parties taking it piece by piece and seeing how can we share that cost. So one of the things I often tell my clients and customers, would you rather be 10% of something great or 100% of nothing? That means, would you rather pay for 20% if I can find somebody else to pay 20% and somebody else to pay 50% and we finally get it done through public-private collaboration? Or you want to say, hell no, we're not interested because it's too much money and nothing ever changes. So my pledge to you is, as I throw these numbers out in today's dollars, we're looking at $10 to $15 million for a parking garage, a minimum, maybe more than that. But we're also looking for probably another $20 million for the experience center to go along with it. We're going to do that in strategic steps to where we manage the risk to where it makes sense. And we do it together in a manner that everybody can endorse. Interstate presence, signage, we can work that in. And then the last two items, D&E, $13 to $14 million from mixed-use space, $20 million for multi-tenant space. I believe those will be private sector investments that will come right away as a result of the improvements that we are going to make. So these are the next steps as I see it. I want to secure and execute a contract for the stormwater ditch, and we have to decide whether that's an RDC function, whether that's a public works function, how that gets done. We need to solicit engineering services for the road, water, and sanitary sewer infrastructure improvements, plus a screen wall, secure the construction funding, and construct. Partnering with NDOT, we need to complete the 2024 upgrades. And then we need to start looking at securing the real estate necessary to make that road work happen, to build the parking garage, to start to effect the changes we need. And that's such a big list in itself, there's really no reason to go any further tonight as far as the next step. So if tonight, after tonight, you want a copy of this presentation, you can go to chooselawrence.com. You can get a copy of the presentation. But in closing, all of us, how many of you have grandkids? Are there any of your grandkids that don't like dominoes? My 3-year-old granddaughter, when she's 6 now, when she's 3, she'd come in, and the first thing she said, "Papa, will you set the dominoes up where I can knock them down?" That was the first thing she'd say. Well, tonight I set up dominoes for you. This first domino represents the trade district. This last domino represents Sunnyside Road. Each of those dominoes in between represent a piece of property or an opportunity for development. That won't happen unless what? The trades district domino follows with the things that we have. What I'm asking this group tonight is to be prepared to support us as we come to the table with rational strategic plans of how to make this happen. One of the things that I'm pledging and asking, I'm going to ask of all the councils and commissions, is that we form a Trades District Development Committee. And on that committee, I'd like to have 2 representatives of the council. I'd like to have the mayor's group obviously represented. I'd like to have somebody from the Board of Zoning. I'd like to have somebody from utilities. I'd like to have somebody from all the different facets that are going to touch this project on that committee. So as we talk about things that are going to impact your group, you can do 2 things. You can express concern or opportunity or ways to support, but you can also take what we're doing back and share it with that body to know that we're not selecting an engineering firm because of political donations or political reasons. We're selecting an engineering or planning firm because of the very best of what they do. I want you to be able to share why we're making the decisions we have. And be sure that the lines of communication as we move forward are totally collaborative and totally open. So I'll be coming and asking for those things in the next few weeks and asking pretty quickly for you to figure out how we can engage those professionals I need to move to the next step so we're prepared when that federal money comes to the table that we can take advantage of. And I'm asking all of you, and I pick on him because he's my friend and I can get away with it, I'm asking all of you, like Denny Spinner, to use your expertise and your best thinking and your imagination, and Andrew, to share with the governor what we're trying to do in terms of workforce development. Because we can't do this on our own. We need all of your help to accomplish what we're talking about tonight. Census team, and I'll take your questions if you have any, in case you get up and walk out the door, which is perfectly fine to do. You've been a great audience. I want you to know sincerely how much we appreciate you being here tonight. So I'll take your questions.
Thanks, Dan.
Anybody have anything you want to ask? Don't be bashful. It's a lot.
You mentioned the airport. Can you talk about synthesis and their oversight of the airport development?
Would you like to share your planning experience with the airport?
What was involved in that?
Some of the things you're doing with the airport? Come up to the microphone, please.
Can you hear me?
Is that one turned on? I may need to turn mine off.
I'll speak up. That's fine.
Try it now, just for fun. You got it to work.
Okay. We have worked with the airport off and on now for the last 15 years. But I think the project that Dan's referring to the most, we were on the team that helped design and build the Midfield Terminal project. But the project that Dan's referring to is one that we started probably 5 years ago, where we helped the airport executive team understand how it was possible to expand the customer experience. So through 9 months of research, cultivating a lot of different content on what is the customer experience now, what does it need to be, but then also understanding who the customer is. Did a pretty thorough analysis of all the different generations that spend money within a hospitality entertainment environment and narrowed it down to 2 generations. And then based on predisposed likes and dislikes, developed an entire terminal optimization program. So you'll hear them talk about that a lot. So the terminal optimization program is looking at the existing infrastructure, both on the campus and within the terminal itself, and understanding how to capitalize on an already beautiful facility and make it that much better in terms of an experience for the customers. And so taking some of that concept is what we've tried to apply here, making it a better experience, and how can you do that? So this sets the stage for that to happen.
For those of you that are engineering firms still here, I might mention to you that we do plan to have a fully open RFP process for this. But I will tell you, one of the extreme criteria that we're going to be looking at is how well you are positioned to help us fund what it is we need to do by finding funds. Other questions? Councilor Wells.
Thank you. Do you have a list of the businesses, current businesses that are going to be acquired?
No, we really don't.
You don't, not as of yet?
No, we haven't done that in detail yet. Yes, ma'am.
What about the people who own the homes in that area?
Well, most of the homes in our view right now will probably be untouched by our development, but we think over time the private industry will start approaching and buying those out.
So you're talking like 10 years down the road?
Some time frame, yes. We're quite a ways from that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Just wanted to know if I should put a roof in my house or not.
Yeah. It ain't going to happen tomorrow.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
And the main thing is, I will tell you, if you're in the pathways of those roads, I wouldn't put the roof on.
You wouldn't-
I wouldn't put the roof on if you're in the pathway of the roads.
Yeah, because that road you're talking
That
about.
road's going to go through.
So
but-
what do we do? I mean,
At some point, I mean, you can put your roof on if you want, but at some point, if you're in the truth of the matter is, if you're in that roadway, the city's going to try to acquire that property one way or another.
oh, so what do I do about that?
I don't know how to answer your question right now, and I don't know what the time frame is, but the road will go through.
Yeah, they've been talking about that road for a while.
Yeah, I think we're further along this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bragdon Street is the one that runs in front of SAIC.
That's correct.
It looks like on that map, if I'm seeing it correctly, that's going to be closed off and will no longer be accessible?
I don't remember Bragdon being closed off. Do you?
Well, it needs to be roundabout, correct? Which I would have thought personally, that it's a shortcut would be
Some entertainment center.
No.
So is the roundabout coming off of Bragdon? Because it looks like SAIC is sitting.
The roundabout is at the intersection there. It's at the intersection in front of Bragdon, kind of just a little bit to the north.
Okay, I was reading.
Bragdon actually becomes the new boulevard. Yes.
So I have a question. You mentioned these businesses already have their own semis.
Correct.
Have you ever tried to drive a semi around the roundabout?
Well, that's
Go to 32 and 421, and they'll come.
it all depends on the roundabout and the roundabout design. I can tell you there are some very successful roundabouts, and there are some that were extremely ill-conceived. And we're very conscious of that, and I appreciate your comment. But we hear you. But we would be making a mistake with what we're trying to accomplish here if we couldn't make it possible for a semi to get through that system. Anything else? We really appreciate everybody being here. If you have any questions, I'll be hanging around for a few minutes, but otherwise, thank you very much.